Hello there, you're listening to the Box Office Show. I'm Ryan Hill.
And I'm Dylan Johnson. Today we're going to be talking about the box office numbers from last weekend and our box office predictions for this upcoming weekend.
We'll also be discussing the big finale to the Mission Impossible franchise, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. To help us do that, we are bringing back our resident superfan who has always accepted the mission to help us talk about the spycraft and stunt work of the Mission Impossible franchise. So, Kirk Simpson, welcome back to the show once again.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope not to be exiled to a remote island after this recording.
Never, 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 never.
All right, let's do our box office breakdown for June 6th to June 8th. Coming in first, to a little bit of a surprise, Lilo and Stitch, $32 million in its third weekend, bringing its domestic total of $335 million, beating out Ballerina with $24 million in second place, which is above John Wick's $14.4 original opening, but below the second movie's $30 million opening in 2017. I thought Ballerina would make more money in its debut, and it's a little bit of a disappointment.
And we're going to see if it's able to make back its money. I don't know if they were planning on doing a Ballerina 2 at any point, but it seems like if they want to continue this franchise, they're just going to need to do John Wick 5 and bring Keanu back in full force.
Indeed.
In third place, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning with $14.8 million.
Followed by Karate Kid Legends with $8.5 million.
Final Destination Bloodlines, $6.4 million.
Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme, $6.2 million.
Bring Her Back, $3.5 million. That's me talking about Ilsa Faust.
Dawn to Dawn, Evil Eye, $3.1 million.
Sinners, $2.8 million.
And rounding out the top 10, Thunderbolts, with $2.4 million.
And our box office predictions for this upcoming weekend, June 13th to the 15th. How to Train Your Dragon, the live action, is coming out. Dylan, do you think it'll get 100 million or will fall short of hitting that big 3-digit opener?
Oh, it's passing it. It's going way past 100.
You think?
I'm betting it. Yeah.
Opening. Oh, snap. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we will see if that happens. Again, it'll spice things up for the draft for sure if we get another monster summer opening such as that. But yeah, we will stay tuned. All right. Now let's talk about the main event, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. The 8th movie in this franchise after nearly 30 years. This is supposed to be the big final, big bash of the franchise. Guys, we're all huge fans. I mean, we've done 3 episodes already on Mission Impossible films in the past. What was the hype level for you going into seeing this film this year? And then talk to me about your theater experience. I assume IMAX across the board, but y'all can let me know.
IMAX, absolutely. IMAX opening weekend. I wasn't able to I work a job, so I wasn't able to hit the 2 p.m. Thursday advanced fan screening, unfortunately. My expectations had been slightly tampered by some middling or some cautious reviews out ahead of seeing it. So I wasn't coming into it with my whole heart, and I'm so glad that I wasn't because, I mean, we'll get into it, but woof.
Ooh. Yeah. I'm in the same boat as Kirk. My expectations were definitely a little bit dampened down, unfortunately. I had already had complaints about Dead Reckoning, about all the exposition and everything going on. And a lot of the reviews coming out of this one were critiquing that exposition even more heavily so than Dead Reckoning, which is unfortunate because if you're doing a 2-parter, if one of them's going to have a lot of exposition, let's have it be the first one. The second one, you've kind of already done that work. Let's just have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear that they did even more exposition in the second one, I was definitely not quite looking forward to it. And we, like Kirk said, we'll get into it. But, oh, man, definitely had lower expectations going into it a little bit.
So some tepid initial reactions here that we're seeing. For me, as you all know from our past episodes, I was the more anti-Dead Reckoning guy than y'all were. Still,
True.
Thought it was a great theatrical experience, and I did rewatch it before going into Final Reckoning. And honestly, my opinion has gone up on it because just the sequences, again, the a major stunt work, but also just the more spy elements, like everything in that airport sequence, for instance.
Hmm.
It's just great. Again, all my problems still persist with it, but the entertainment factor of all the big action set pieces that they have in that film is just remarkable. It's incredible. So, yeah, because of that fact, going into Final Reckoning, I had heard the same things as y'all did, but also because I was in Bulgaria, I got to see it actually a week early before it
Ooh.
released here in the States.
Wow.
So I didn't have as much of those opinions coming out, I would
Did
say.
it have Bulgarian subtitles?
It did.
That's awesome.
Indeed, it
Fascinating.
did. So we went to the IMAX theater there. I think it was Cinema City is what it was called. And it was the Friday night. It was the opening. We go in and we get our seats. It was like a big thing we were all doing for one of our the American students that we went over to Bulgaria with. One of them, it was his birthday, actually on the real release date in the United States, but because it was a week early, we're like, yeah, let's just go as early as we can. So for his birthday, we all went, and I was so excited. It was my first time in a theater in 2 or 3 weeks by that point, so I was pumped for it. Like, it was Mission Impossible, so I'm so ready. The first 20 minutes of the film, before the hits the opening credits and everything,
Mhm.
we're locked in. Everything's going great. Once the that like opening sequence ends, screen goes black, and then we start hearing the sounds, and I'm like, okay, interesting creative choice here. We're hearing there's sound forward for the moment, and then it very quickly became obvious that, oh yeah, this is not
Oh
we're supposed to be
no.
hearing
Oh,
some of the things
Oh
that are
no.
actually
no.
going on, seeing what's happening actually, and people started discussing amongst themselves. They're like, yeah, we're all catching on. This is not how it's supposed to be. Some people get out of their seats, presumably to go talk to the theater. Finally, the sound cuts out as well. So then we're just left there for 10, 15 minutes of a blank screen, nothing going on. People are starting to do shadow puppets with the lights
Hell
and putting
yeah.
their hands on the screen, which is funny. So then finally they're able to get to it, and they start it over again, and it's IMAX. So the IMAX uh, opening that they do, where they
Yeah.
does like the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and it has the an IMAX experience, all these different worlds. So it played that again. We're like, okay, interesting. Are they gonna get back to where we left off? They did not. They played the first 20 minutes
Yeah.
all over again.
They have no idea where it cut off. They have to
Yeah.
just start over.
Yeah. So we
You
watched
get to
that.
experience that first 20 minutes.
Again.
Again.
First 20
How was it
minutes
the
again.
second time? Was it better?
As you know, those first 20 minutes were not, I would say, peak Mission Impossible franchise.
No, I would say pretty lackluster.
Yeah. Pretty poor.
So that was rough as far as the theater experience goes. And then, as Dylan knows, it's become a constant thing on the show where I'll bring up theatrical experiences and how people like to be yapping or like to be on their phones.
Nobody hates.
what.
Nobody's more stricter about theater etiquette than Ryan Hill.
Yeah.
Global issue.
Nobody I know.
It's a global issue because
Apparently.
there were people that were yapping as well. And I
Were they
think
yapping
the
in
issue with that
Bulgarian
was
or in English?
we were doing the shadow puppet in Bulgarian, shadow puppet stuff. And then also like a third of the audience, I think, left as well.
Oh no.
They probably got credits or whatever to come back another time. So now I think people thought it was like more chill, like, oh, we had that experience. So now it's more like we're in our living room just
Yeah.
Did
chopping
you
it
have
up.
to Google how to shush somebody in Bulgarian?
Is it also
shush?
global is the type of thing. So we'll talk about the sequence where it like reached a boiling point and where I had to like stop the people from yapping.
Wow.
But
You yelled at him, didn't you, Ryan? You got on
I
your
did
feet.
not.
You screamed.
Wow.
No.
Classic American.
I've never seen
Going
Ryan Hill get angry.
overseas.
He gets angry at yelling at people who breaking theater etiquette. I've never seen him get so mad.
I told you. Did you listen? I don't think you're on the episode, but I was telling the story of when I saw Blue Velvet. You should go and listen to that episode just to hear my. That was probably the worst. Like
Really?
legitimately, and I said on the show, I was like, I didn't say anything because if I did, like if I went to go say something, I probably would have smacked the guy in front of me.
Wow.
So
I'm
I'd
just
go listen.
I'm just
That's
so
insane.
non-confrontational. I can give a
I'm
passive
not
aggressive
that
glare, but I can't say anything.
I think I get
Because I
annoyed,
let
but
a
I just don't
lot
think I
slide.
care enough to actually go out of my way to say something. Ryan, Kirk, did I ever tell you a story that Ryan and I watching Sophie's Choice in
It was
class?
in the same
Jesus,
theater though. It was
no.
VAB.
We were,
That's when I was
yeah,
about to smack the
we were in
guy.
132, the
This is why I
big,
told you
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if I
big,
did
big,
it, so bad's gonna happen.
big room. There's a person like 2 seats in front of us. They're not talking or anything. It's the middle of Sophie's Choice. She's just on her phone, and Ryan is sitting behind me. I'm in the middle row, and then the girl's in front of me. And Ryan leans over his seat to me, and he goes, "Tell her to put her phone away. Tell her to put her phone away. Lean forward and tell her to put her phone away." I'm like, Ryan, I'm not gonna do that. Like,
You
I
should
don't
have, but
care
you're
enough.
closer.
It's not that disruptive to me. He goes, tell her to put her phone away right now. I'm like, bro, if
She's
you
got to
really
be able
care,
to
go do
hear
what you say.
that by now, right? Like,
You
You
would
would
hope,
think.
but no, she didn't. Uh, but yeah, you were closer to me. So if I got up, then it would have been a whole thing. I'm reaching over you now. But here's the thing: had it been today, had that been recently, I would have. I would have
I know
got
you
up
would.
over
yeah,
you.
You've gotten
hurdled the
worse as time has
seats.
gone on.
I've gotten better, is what you mean to say.
The curmudgeonness has increased. You've watched too much of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
He feels too
Even
empowered.
before that, but
You're
he's right. I
you're
wonder.
willing to be confrontational what you want, like Larry David.
Yeah.
Put your phone away. Put your phone away.
You don't got to look it up. You'll find out what the choice is. The movie's only 2 hours.
Yeah, come on. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
did you
It's
just
disrespectful.
put the phone away. So anyway, yeah. So that happened in this. Every movie we do now, we're gonna like have a segment where we talk about
Theater etiquette.
when in the movie I had to tell someone to shut up or put their phone away because again, theater etiquette has just gone extremely downhill since the pandemic. But yeah, so we'll talk about when that happens.
I
But
wish Ryan had been in a theater for the Minecraft movie when they did the chicken jockey shit. Popcorn everywhere.
He just stands up.
I mean-
Hey, no. Guys, pick
That's
that
not
up.
the point.
Pick that up right now.
Get your popcorn right now.
hold on to your popcorn, please. Do not throw the popcorn. So yeah, let's talk about Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Guys, what'd you think for the first 20 minutes? You guys didn't have to rewatch it. Also, did you guys see this film again before
That was
our
almost.
episode right
I
now?
did not. I wanted
It's been
to.
out for a month almost.
It didn't. I was not compelled enough to.
It's just
to go
so
back.
long and so boring. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Wow, which is a departure because Dead Reckoning, I think.
Dead Reckoning. I
saw
saw
it a couple
twice.
times.
Yeah, I saw twice opening weekend. I saw Dead Reckoning. Yeah,
Wow.
because I
It
really.
just
That's
has
supposed to
more
be
action
everything.
sequences and it is more fun.
Yeah, it really is. This movie makes that movie look better, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Again, my opinion of Dead Reckoning over the past couple of months has gone up dramatically.
Look, we had a bit in the Last Mission podcast about joining Scientology if Tom Cruise went to space in this movie. I'm so glad I didn't have to join Scientology for
Yeah,
this
dude, oh my
movie.
God.
A better movie, I could talk myself into it.
This movie
This-
makes Scientology look bad.
Yeah.
And that's saying something, because it already looks pretty fucking bad. I don't know, man. It's the sequel in a duo movie. You know, it's the part 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't need any exposition. They've already explained everything, and then they decide that they want to do a time jump and then explain it even more, like to set up the stakes, which is like it's Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
There's going to be that exposition. I think it's fine to have that in the beginning when the president is giving that exposition of explaining to catch up where you are.
Sure.
That's fine. 5
You get
minutes. Every Mission Impossible movie has
That's
this.
why it exists.
Fine. Yes. I don't think you need any more exposition after that, except when you really want to like catch someone up in the moment, make it feel more natural. It feels like they're forcing exposition to like get plot points out so that they don't have to worry about it later,
Yeah.
instead of just letting it come up naturally.
And
And it's just so much talking.
And it's having just rewatched everything, they're so good at that in every other movie. It's kind of astounding to see how poorly it's executed here and how
Yeah.
like really sloppily everything is patched together. Because Fallout has a lot of exposition in it, but it's delivered
does.
so slickly and so efficiently that you don't care. Even if you're not listening to it, just the way they're talking just has such a nice rhythm to it. And this, everything is so choppy. It's all
Yeah.
slapped together. There's some weird ADR moments that I'm like, what are you patching around that you couldn't even get Esai Morales in a room to really just get a clean take at this?
Yeah. And also just no action. There's no action in the movie. There's the biplane sequence at the end.
Yeah.
There's the submarine sequence in the middle.
Yeah.
And then there's some shootout, a very brief shootout in the North Pole or wherever they are, in Alaska or whatever. And that's pretty much it. And like a little fight Tom Cruise has in the submarine I don't know. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it.
And to be clear,
It's a 3-hour movie, and there's like maybe like 30 minutes of it is action.
Yeah.
And that's a bad ratio.
horrible ratio. But to be clear, that submarine sequence and the biplane sequence are some of the best things I've seen
Some of the
in a
best
movie, maybe ever.
Which is what's disappointing is it could have been so great had they just did more of that and less of the exposition. It would have been like maybe even the best Mission Impossible movie. It had the potential.
Yeah.
They
Right.
spent so long explaining everything.
Did the Bulgarian subtitles save any amount of interest for you?
No, because I couldn't understand any of that stuff. Anyway, I will say
You didn't like
whenever
it
they
just
see a
visually?
link that isn't English. Obviously, it's subtitled in Bulgarian, so I did not get what they were saying. But there wasn't much. It was only whenever Paris was talking, and some of that I could actually get, but the rest of it couldn't. So that ultimately became a detriment. But thankfully, they weren't very, speaking in a bunch of different languages in this one. I will disagree in saying that it had the potential of being the best or among the best Mission Impossible films, because it commits some other fatal sins that Dead Reckoning did, for instance. Instead of correcting it, they took away Ilsa Faust, last one, rather than giving us her back in this one. They took away another character.
Yeah, they did.
Took away Luther very early on.
Should have been way later in the game. Yeah, should have been
like,
way later in the movie.
Why did that happen? Because again, it's so early, and it just doesn't seem to come naturally. Like I don't know if Ving Rhames wanted
I think the
to.
movie is trying very hard. I think it's trying very hard to be like a love letter to Tom Cruise specifically, and it's hard to do that when you have other characters that have been there almost as long as him. And so they get rid of him, and then they can kind of sideline Benji a little bit.
Yeah,
and then after that, everybody else is like pretty much new characters.
The thesis of these films, especially in the McHugh era, especially in Dead Reckoning, is the whole thing about like, I love my friends so much. I'll do anything for my friends. I will put the world at risk 9 times over for my friends to make sure none of them die. And Ilsa and Luther die within a 2-3 month span in Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning.
I think he's trying to increase the stakes. I think the whole point is like in the very beginning, he wants to say like nobody's safe, and we're gonna kill Luther to let you know that nobody's safe. But it's kind of stupid because you already did it to Elsa. We already know nobody's safe.
Exactly.
I wanted to see Luther play out his role here a little bit better.
And they totally kneecap his sacrifice by making him already sick.
Yeah, it's
which
like,
came out of absolutely
nowhere. But I thought they did that to soften the blow. Like the second I saw him sick, I'm like, he's done.
I know, and I think
they're just trying to like make us be okay with that.
I think that's a bad choice. Anyway. I want a sacrifice to be meaningful. Like at the very least, Ilsa's death had an impact on me in the theater, whereas Luther, I have now had multiple conversations with people about this movie where they've brought up the fact that Luther died, and I have to go, oh, that's right, he did die, didn't he? Yeah, so he's been in every single, the only other person than Tom Cruise who's been in every one of these movies, got blown up by a small nuclear bomb. And I completely forgot.
Nobody else dies in the rest of the movie, and there were many side characters that had moments where they could have sacrificed themselves and they didn't. And it's like, why was Luther the only one, and why did it happen right in the beginning?
Why does Dunlow's wife make it through this movie?
Yeah,
Luther doesn't.
Dunlow's wife, but also Dunlow. I thought he was gone. Like when the thing was burning down, he's like sitting out the code. I'm like, well,
I think that role he's playing, where he's defusing the bomb and might sacrifice himself, should have been Luther at the end.
Absolutely,
maybe you can get rid of him at that point.
Absolutely,
let him sacrifice.
Yeah,
it makes no sense other than like time for them to not be like, hey, we're going to South Africa. Let's drop you guys at the port and we'll go save the day. Why did Dunlow and his wife come with them? Why do they get to be a part of this now?
I don't know.
Everybody's
that's
in the team.
One of the other issues is, again, this is the final Mission Impossible, allegedly. We'll talk about that at the end, I suppose. But it's supposed to be the big final bash. And they do a lot to emphasize that by having this whole clip show pattern run through the whole film, where we're just seeing images of
TikTok edits,
things, so why is our team in the final Mission Impossible franchise a bunch of freaking nobodies that we're only meeting in this movie, or we're in the last movie as like the side character?
It should have been a team up of all the legacy characters that are still
why the heck is Paris here? Why the heck is Degas here? Why is
Paris such like a prominent member of the team, in the point where she's like in the final moments saying goodbye, when she is just like in the previous movie killed many innocent people, killed many U.S. agents who had done nothing wrong but like tried to stop Tom Cruise just murdered people. It's just a murderer.
Mhm.
Full stop.
So why is she there? And again, I loved Grace in Dead Reckoning. There's a lot of that because Haley Atwell is ridiculously gorgeous in that movie, partially, but also she was like interesting, charismatic. Like they had a great
She's really
introduction to her
funny
character,
in that
very
movie.
streamlined.
Yeah.
Exactly, I had a good dynamic with Tom Cruise throughout it. In this movie, she's just like there. She's just it's like
everybody's just there except for Tom Cruise.
Exactly, and Benji has some good moments, but and he always does. And it's great that they keep him around because they know he's got the comedic relief aspect to it. But it's like, why do we not have Luther and Benji, Ilsa? Why do we not have at least like Jeremy Renner? Bring him back. Bring back anyone from the previous Mission Possibles that were actually part of the team, like Ghost Protocol or Mission Possible 3. Like we're just having this hodgepodge of new side characters coming together to be the team for the final Mission Possible, and it has no impact. Like I don't care about these people
It
as
almost
I do for Ilsa or Luther or any of the others
it
in
almost
the previous movies when they had a better team dynamic.
Yeah, it almost feels like we've gone back to having different directors make every movie, because this doesn't seem like somebody who made the last movie is making this movie, because everybody changes their characters. Paris is now part of the team indefinitely and just fantastic, great. We're all on the same side now. Grace has gone from being a regular like pickpocket and thief who got trapped up in all this to being a spy and the best pickpocket ever with the fastest reflexes apparently of all time. People are just shifting all the time. There's shockingly no cohesion between this movie and the last movie.
Yeah. I want Paula Patton back.
Yeah.
I want Hollywood failed Paula Patton. Bring her back.
Yeah. Revive Léa Seydoux. Bring her back.
Yes.
She actually didn't fall off the building.
No, she did, but she was wearing the magnetic suit that Renner wears at the end. So she just floats and is like...
As she was falling, she catches one of the gloves that Tom Cruise had and sticks to the building. What a crazy reveal that would be.
Which honestly, it's not that far fetched with this movie
compared to what else they reference in here.
Yeah.
So that was crazy, and they try and do a lot of connecting it to the past because again, they're like, "This is the final movie, so we got to bring everyone back."
Like everything's building up to this moment. I think is like not a bad way to go.
No.
But I think it just feels so clunky. Like it's like they're trying to force you to just reminisce as opposed to making it fit sort of well.
Mm-hmm.
But they throw in a bunch of other connections, like the son of Jim Phelps
hated it
is actually Shea Wiggum's character.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that do for us, honestly? Because he's not even in the movie. Like him and Kittredge are supposed to be going after Tom. They don't show up again until like South Africa. Mm-hmm. And then they have that moment where Shea Wiggum like has the gun up to Tom Cruise as if he's going to shoot him, as if anyone believes that was going to be the case. But it's like, does he even care? Like, what is the dilemma there?
I think it could have been cool because in the original TV show, Jim Phelps is the main character and he's the one who organizes the team. And so the twist in the original movie is that Jim Phelps is actually the bad guy. But in this movie, they make Jim Jr., who's also just technically Jim Phelps, a good guy. Mm-hmm. He could take over Mission Impossible from Tom Cruise. And then now you have kind of like the lead into what the TV show is. And like your traditional Hollywood reboot ending is what it could have been. And they didn't even do that. They just said, I'm Jim Phelps Jr. And then didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, which it would have been cool had he been part of Tom Cruise's team, and then maybe he finds that out. Yeah. But even then, it's like there's no real dilemma there because it's like presumably, it's been almost 30 years since that happened. He would have known. Yeah, that Jim Phelps was a traitor, and he's like, "Oh,
my dad was a good guy. You framed him."
It's been 30 years.
Oh, you mean the original villain from 30 years ago? That guy,
like that. It was some big lie or conspiracy or whatever. So it's like, even if that were a real, revelation that we had that we cared about, it's not like it would introduce much conflict for the character. Suspense about what he's going to do. Is he going to betray Tom Cruise?
Yeah,
because he did the right thing against the villain father from forever ago. So I don't know. That seemed silly and odd. The rabbit's foot comes back around from Mission Impossible 3.
I don't think it's that bad had it made more sense, I guess. Because like they never define what the rabbit's foot is in Mission Impossible 3, which I think is part of the strength of the movie is that it's just this.
That's what I liked about it. Like
thing.
They're just like, it's a MacGuffin. Shut up. Don't worry about it. Just know that they need to get it. It's important.
Like the irrelevance of the thing they're trying to stop in terms of like the action you're watching. It's just something that's powerful. Who cares what it is? Mm-hmm. I kind of like that more in Mission Impossible with you, but I don't mind the reference in here. I wish it felt more natural when they brought it up. It just feels once again like exposition.
Yeah.
Like it's misplaced in the movie of explaining what it is. Everything just comes out at the wrong times of like, okay, I'm trying to watch some action, and once again you're stopping the action in favor of telling me something I don't give a shit about at this moment.
No. The whole movie feels incredibly self-conscious, except for the 20-minute sequences of the sub and the biplane. Everything else is like, I dropped all my note cards and I don't have anything in order and I have to give this presentation right now. How about this fun fact? These guys are related. This thing that you thought was nothing is actually here. Isn't that cool? And we're just like, no, it's fine.
All right, so what did we think of the submarine sequence, where it gets to its strengths,
building up to
big
that
action set piece?
Building up to that, everything to do with like Tom Cruise meeting with the president in that room up until that submarine sequence. I have never seen them bend over backwards so hard to explain like not only the state of the world, but like the stakes that are at hand for so long. They're explaining everything to do with the war room, everything to do with the control of the nuclear weapons and how the entity is trying to access each one by one, and how once it does, that is like the countdown clock going to the end, and then explaining how they're going to locate the Sevastopol by finding the specific sonar explosion on a radar from 2012 that is located in this bunker that is found. It's just like, I don't know. It is just so complicated. And I think it's good that it's complicated, but they need to like handhold you through how complicated it is, as opposed to just like briefly explaining it as best they can and just assuming you'll get it.
Yeah.
And then focusing on the action.
Yeah.
But they handhold you through every single part of it so that even the most like attention deficit person can sit there and be like, I understand what's going on. I know what Tom Cruise is doing.
Question.
Yes.
Question. Would this movie be a full star rating better if it started when he jumps off the plane and dives into the water?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If we just start there, find some way to backfill the information.
Everything before that is just completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're just filling in the fact that they freed Paris, which is also just a flashback.
Yeah.
They're filling in on just so much. It would have been much better if it started with him jumping into the water and then going from there, and then you have the whole submarine sequence to open it, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
I was just so disappointed that it took 45 minutes to get to that sequence, or maybe even an hour.
Yeah.
I think, it was
It's like
a full hour.
Dog. That is like the first real action sequence of the movie, and it took that long. Submarine, though, is awesome.
Fantastic.
It is so good. I was thrilled, and I was loving it the entire time.
Yeah. I will say I could sense my theater was getting a little bit restless because of the lack of dialogue for so long, but I was fully locked in.
Dude, I was having anxiety watching him do all the stuff in the water. I was like, oh my fucking God. And then it gets to the part where he's outside and he like abandons his entire suit and tries to swim up. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Well, that was crazy. I was like, what are we doing?
I understand that the mission has to be impossible, but you have to make it actually fucking impossible because, like, come on.
Well, and I think
the whole point of these movies is that the mission is very much impossible, and then they find a way to do it that is like unrealistic, but like possible, but incredibly improbable.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of the movies. In the submarine sequence, it's like that's just fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot swim that distance and make it to the top while also getting the bends and then get brought back to life.
Exactly.
Like the setup is great of like you are in this situation where you are at the bottom of the ocean, you have to get to the top, there's ice above you, you have a limited oxygen supply, and you will get the bends as you're going up. That is impossible enough. You don't really have to make him get rid of his entire suit.
Yeah.
I don't need that part. Like you just made it completely not possible whatsoever.
And I think the things that work most for me, and the thing that work most for me about the other big action sequences in this franchise, is I get the dual enjoyment of holy shit, Ethan Hunt is doing this, but also holy shit, Tom Cruise is in this room and there is clearly water in this, and also things are moving around. So how did they build a giant tank, a giant water tank, and then a rotating set inside of this? Like, how are they actually pulling this off so that Tom
betting
Cruise
it's a water
is
tank, and I'm betting
all
he's
that?
in it, but I bet a lot of the objects are CGI.
They probably are.
Yeah.
But I couldn't
But-
tell on the day. I was totally locked in,
Mhm.
and that's for me where it
it's
comes
still
in.
thrilling.
And then it snaps when you're like, okay, he's in probably a pretty big tank of water, but it's not that far up and it's not that
It is
cold.
great set design.
Yeah.
Though. It is very, very cool. I think getting rid of the wetsuit was fine because it's really cold water. Getting rid of the oxygen tank is what really makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because like you already got rid of the wetsuit. That's cool enough. Let's just let it be that.
Yeah.
He gets rid of the wetsuit. It's freezing cold water now. Just like amping up the stakes. You don't have to have him abandon the entire fucking oxygen tank.
Yeah.
He's already has to deal with the fact that he's getting lower and lower in the ocean, farther and farther from the surface. Has to deal with the bends quicker as the nitrogen in his body freaks out. Like there's like other elements here that are enough for me to be anxious and like be nervous for Ethan Hunt. Of like he's gonna fucking die this time. Like Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me in my experience, this is when the people were acting up. You're talking about them being restless in your theater.
Oh, really?
Tell you what, the Bulgarians here.
No.
They're just side comments.
He was quiet.
They were joking around. They were like having these conversations.
How loud? How
Like,
loud are we
this
talking?
is ridiculous. They were like right by me, but I assumed like people 5, 6, 7 rows down would be able to hear them.
What did you say?
Me, they're right behind me, so I can hear them very clearly. And so, yeah, I was like, this is getting annoying. And I could see next to me, the guy whose birthday it was that we were like here to watch this was starting to get annoyed too. And again, I'm like, oh, this is this man's like birthday movie, and they're just ruining it right now during like the big action set piece that we're having here, the submarine.
The first good
What did
thing
you
to
do?
happen in
Ryan,
2 hours.
Larry, David Hill. What did you do?
So I just did a big turnaround to look at them, and then I did that. I did a
Oh,
one.
he did
Like,
the neck
cut it off.
cross.
Uh-huh.
The
Cut
cut
it
it
off.
out.
Yeah.
The cut it out motion. Yeah.
And you know what, guys, this is why you do it. Okay, it worked. They were silent for the rest of the movie
Nice.
until the very, very end, where they made a couple comments, and I was like, guys, you're doing so well.
Yeah.
But pretty much from that point on, they were silent, and I was
Nice.
like, nice. But so half of that submarine sequence that was going on, so it took my attention away
That's
from
hard.
it.
Yeah. Because that's
And
something you really
also-
got to be locked in on to
Yeah, you
feel
gotta be, like,
the
fully
build
locked in.
for.
So I'd love to go back and see that again and
Mhm.
feel if it would like completely wash over me. But I wasn't as impacted as you guys were. I imagine they were intending the audience to be by that whole sequence. I was also thinking a lot of James Cameron and what he does with underwater stuff,
Yeah.
both in Titanic and in Avatar 2.
Yeah.
And especially because the Avatar 2 was most recent. I was so engaged and locked in for the water stuff in that, like towards the end when
Sure.
that whole ship is sinking.
Very, very,
Yeah.
very
Over at
similar
one point.
sequence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's very similar. And I was like, that one was amazing, perfecto.
I gotta rewatch that movie.
This one, in comparison, I was not as impressed, despite obviously being, it's Tom Cruise really in there. And I'm sure in the mocap suits they were in there for Avatar, but you're just looking at big
Yeah.
blue people. But I still felt more impact from that in Avatar 2. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to go back and re-experience that, see how
Yeah.
much more it is able to connect without some of those
You definitely should, because I think something that
general factors.
I think that to me is kind of a like picture perfect, like perfect structurally Mission Impossible sequence where you have all of the elements laid out visually. We don't need people talking about everything except
Mhm.
for the obvious like setup of, okay, you're going down here, you have to get this thing, and then you got to get up while exhaling the whole time so your lungs don't explode, which was a fascinating detail. But everything is all set up. We see him start to go through it. We see him problem solving as you, the viewer, are seeing issues that might come up and be like, how's he going to get around that? And then he does. And then things start to go wrong and you see him start to build. So it all kind of builds where I think in my memory, I've only seen Avatar 2 once, but that sequence is more strictly like faster paced. And so it's a different like level for me where this is a more measured thing that worked a little better for me.
Yeah. It's also like so much of the movie up until this point is not actiony at all. It's like I'm getting edged the entire time.
Yeah.
And then I get this sequence and it's like the final bust of like experience the
Jesus.
action. So it just
Eloquent
feels
as always.
because I've been edged for so long, it just feels so much better when I finally bust and watch the sequence. Had they had like full back-to-back action leading up to it, it might not have stood out as much.
Yeah.
But it definitely does feel like a very, very great release of or a great relief, I should say.
People's got to clean those
of
seats in
action.
front of you, man. You gotta
Yeah.
keep that to yourself.
Yeah. I
Okay.
cannot reuse my popcorn bucket.
Goodness. All right. So after that,
Can we go?
next
Can we go
big.
back before that though? Because I
Oh,
think we
sure.
got to talk about that interrogation sequence where
Mhm.
they're locked up, and everything from that to Ethan becoming one with the entity, and the little clip show that he gets
Oh
of
yeah.
all of his
Yeah.
doomsday visions. I think there's a theme through this movie that I've been trying to track, where I think that it references just about every single movie before it at least once, because like that scene is almost identical to the bone cutter scene in Rogue Nation, except
Oh
that the
yeah.
bone cutter ends with a great fight, and this ends with 30 seconds of a really, frankly, poorly directed fight, and then an
You don't even
attempt
see
at a
it, bro.
longer bit where Grace is watching Ethan probably murder and horrifically dismember these guys based on her
It feels like
reaction.
bad editing. It feels like they're supposed to cut. And they just
Really
didn't.
terrible.
Yeah.
And then, so that's Rogue Nation.
Fucking massacres those people.
Yeah. We got the Jim Phelps reference for one. He rides a motorcycle. I didn't see any doves, but he definitely rides a motorcycle at least once. So that's two. For three, we've got the anti-god. We've got the reference to the rabbit's foot. I haven't figured out four yet, but we got five. And then six, the biplane sequence is just the helicopter sequence, but with biplanes.
This is true. It is
Indeed.
like word for word the exact same sequence, but with
Yeah.
biplanes, which is kind of like a step up. It's kind of cooler.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
But I mean, so unless you guys can help me figure out four, that one's missing.
If they had put Paula Patton in this, you would have gotten it.
We would have gotten it. Yeah.
We needed Paula Patton. That was the problem. Had Paula Patton been in this, the whole movie would have been better.
Yeah. But
I'm on your side, Paula Patton.
but talking about being edge, that sequence is terrible. That's a killer for me. That does not excite me even a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, we're finally going to get some action after like 10 minutes of nothing. Never mind.
Yeah.
We got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of rough. I thought the other, like the hand-to-hand with Tom Cruise in the submarine against one of the
That worked great for me.
assassins that comes after.
I thought it
him,
was good.
I don't know why he
great.
needed to be in his tighty whities, but it worked great for me.
I thought it was good. I don't understand why when they approach them fighting, they side with Tom Cruise. This is like
Yeah.
a guy they've known for a long time. They don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
They just see Tom Cruise fighting this guy they've known for a long time, and she like hits him or something.
Yeah.
It saves Tom Cruise. Why?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is it just because he's Tom Cruise and he's charismatic? It's just plot armor, I guess. There's no real explanation as to why they picked Tom Cruise instead. There's no like, oh, we were watching the whole time. We saw this happening. I don't know. It just like feels like lazy writing.
Yeah.
It feels like plot armor.
I think for like
And so I was just like, why? Why?
I think certainly for military personnel that makes sense. I think there's like a couple people at my workplace where if I showed up and saw them fighting Tom Cruise, I'd be like, just on that guy's vibes alone, Tom Cruise is probably in the right here.
Right.
So
I don't know. In real life, I don't know if there's anybody who I'd pick over
over Tom
or I'd
Cruise.
pick Tom Cruise over. I don't know. No. I don't know if there's anybody I'd pick Tom Cruise over.
Oh,
I mean, in
okay.
real life, like
Sure.
if it was Ethan Hunt,
Ethan
if it
Hunt,
was Tom
that's what I
Cruise is
mean.
Ethan
Yeah,
Hunt.
yeah.
If it was Ethan Hunt and I knew Ethan Hunt, 100%. But real life Tom Cruise, I don't know if I'm helping that guy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. How many Thetans does the other guy have?
Yeah. That being said, if I did see Tom Cruise in real life, I don't know if I have the like emotional intelligence to separate him as a person from Ethan Hunt. I feel like I would
Yeah.
see him and I'd be like, that's Ethan.
Yeah.
Or like just any role that he's done. He's just so charismatic and everything. Maybe I would just confuse him for like being just a cool movie star.
Yeah.
As opposed to who he actually is.
And the other element to that fight, Ethan was having his battle in the submarine, and then at the same time, at that sonar array station, whatever, we had Benji and Co. were fighting against the Russians and everything. That I thought was pretty poorly done.
That was-
kinda
You thought it was poorly done?
interesting. Yes.
Oh, I liked
And
that
was very-
sequence.
I thought it was mid. I'm in the middle between you guys.
I think I was feeling the drought of action and was finally
Yeah.
like, here we go. And
That's fair.
was a little bit more locked into that one. Because I think it's semi cross cut with Ethan on the sub. And as soon as Ethan jumps out of the plane to go into that water, I like felt myself sit up a little straighter and felt like, okay, we're actually in a Mission Impossible movie now. So even a like mid-tier fight like that worked for me.
Mhm. Yeah, again, my issue with that was just outside of Benji, and again, Grace, I enjoyed a lot in Dead Reckoning, but in this one, again, I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't care about these people. Like Paris,
Yeah.
I guess there, I'm like, I'm not invested. I don't.
It felt like giving the side characters something to do while Tom Cruise is
That's
doing the real
exactly
story.
what it
Mhm.
felt like. Yeah, they're just like we need them to be like doing something. And I would have been okay with just keep us on Tom Cruise for a bit.
Yeah.
Like just have us be locked in on his perspective. If you're getting rid of all the main people in his crew, then yeah, like just strip it all back. Have it be like Mission Impossible 1 again, where it's just him against the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the biggest fan of that. Then
And also that the
they
Russians have had their own key.
They had their what?
The Russians have had their own cruciform key for years.
Yeah, they had copies.
They've had copies
copies.
for a decade. That's subsec.
Ruins the plot of the first movie, but they had copies.
That's subsec
entirely, yeah.
12 years ago, and nobody on the Russian team has gone looking for the one
Sebastopol.
sonar base that could find the Sebastopol for 12 years.
Yeah.
That doesn't track for me.
Silly stuff, yeah.
They knew where it was too. I guess what they were trying to control the entity. Still,
I can understand.
or letting it slide
Yeah.
because they didn't want to.
I can
risk
buy
it,
that the
but-
Sevastopol that the entity could like scramble its own signal and have them looking in the wrong place for a little bit, but I feel like if you're Russia, you got to know your waters better than that.
But when do they find out that they just have to go to the station and find the explosion? Because they find that out on their own. They don't like they
Yeah.
knew beforehand because they had who had sent something to like cover it up. Was it the CIA that did that?
I don't
There's
know.
so
This
much
movie is
plot going
so
on.
confusing.
It doesn't make sense that I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I released myself from that. Again, I went through the whole thing in Dead Reckoning where I'm like, this is stupid. This doesn't make sense. How would they not know? How did
Yeah.
they not get there before? So I released myself from that going into this one where I'm like, it's just already stupid.
Yeah.
It's completely dumb. But
I still don't understand why the Russians in the opening sequence of Dead Reckoning are speaking English the whole time. It's only them on the ship.
No, they start speaking Russian and then they switch to English. It's a whole Hunt for Red
just
October
doesn't make
thing.
Any sense?
They're
I hate
speaking
that
Russian.
movie.
We're just hearing.
I just
English.
hate
It's
it when
fine.
movies do that. I fucking hate it. It's not like we're just hanging out. We just start speaking French.
I mean, if I could, that'd be pretty sick.
I mean, yeah, maybe if we knew French, we would do it. But you tell me every single Russian on that ship could speak fluent English?
No, they don't. They're speaking Russian.
They're speaking Russian, but with the English-Russian accents.
Yeah.
Okay. Stupid movie logic.
so South Africa.
South
They
Africa.
finally get there.
Cool locale for the ending.
Yes.
Very cool
I
choice.
agree. It was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a nice change of pace.
Feels very adventurous,
Mm.
you know?
Exactly.
Except that we get thrown in a cave, which does not look very adventurous. It just
Yeah.
looks like any other cave.
But it came anywhere.
Yeah, but this is when we see, like, again, that shot of them walking through that cave, and it's Ethan, and he's flanked by his new team members. And
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't
I don't
care
care
about
about
any
these
of them.
people.
We do not
Yeah.
care. But then finally, that's when Kittredge and Shea Wiggum show back up in the freaking film,
Yeah.
and then immediately they take possession of the
Which
key
what
or
was the
pod
plan
or
again? They
whatever
were
the-
bringing in the port to give to S.A. Morales to plug
Yes.
in intentionally so that they could then trap the entity. So they were using him as a part of the team, but he didn't know it yet.
Yes.
He's just a big fucking dumb idiot or something.
Yes. So Luther made this super cool light up drive that they can
Suicide.
use to trap the entity. And Isai Morales stole the poison pill. So they had to use him because he already had the pill. So they're like, all right, we're going to let him upload it. But then at the last second, we're going to yoink it out of there. And then we'll have the entity because we'll have trapped it.
So what was his goal? Was he trying to just kill the entity? He was trying to control the entity?
He was trying to control the entity.
How does putting the thing in the suicide pill control the entity?
I don't know. They sort of cop out of this by talking about the machine that he was using to commune with the entity as just a device that makes you insane. And so basically anything that he does that doesn't make sense can be hand waved. Like saying, I have the last parachute when there's another parachute in a biplane, it just can be hand waved by saying he's insane.
I guess. In a movie, in a series of 2 movies now, where obviously the real villain is the AI.
Yeah.
It's hard to convey that to an audience. So I think the whole point of Gabriel was to give the AI a physical existence to
Yeah.
be threatened by.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting way to go, and I thought that was smart. You know, you can still keep the AI as being its own actual artificial intelligence self, of being this kind of like amorphous thing, and then have like a physical person to fight.
Yeah.
Kind of like the embodiment of that idea. And in this movie, they kind of throw that away in favor of where it's dedicating the AI being the main villain of the movie. So Gabriel just doesn't matter as much. And then they just fuck up his character. They just make him seem so stupid.
Yeah.
He sucks. And
He's
I'll be honest,
so dumb.
in Dead Reckoning, I thought he was one of the weakest parts.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he was all that.
I was hoping he'd get better in this one.
Yeah.
You know?
In this one, he's just terrible because
He's
they
so
took away the
he's
one
barely
compelling
in it.
aspect of him being the human representative of the entity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now he's just trying to control the entity, so he's trying to subvert the entity's plans of having that hideout in the little cave in South Africa. And he's just stupid. Like, now he's pointless. He makes no sense. Everything he says is like stock villain stuff.
He's like trying to outsmart the entity, but he's a big dumb idiot. So it just feels stupid.
Yeah.
If he was gonna be a big dumb idiot, I wish he was just like a
And this is
worshiper of
also-
the entity the entire time.
Lest we forget, this is the villain that in Dead Reckoning they try to set up as like the reason Ethan Hunt is in Mission
Yeah.
Impossible, because he killed
Yeah.
some girlfriend and then he was on the run and framed Ethan or something or whatever it is that made him join the team.
Just totally dropped.
then
Never brought up
He's
again.
also the one that killed Ilsa,
Yeah.
also killed Luther, also has another nuke, which by the way,
Yeah.
the protocol was all about like stopping these people from getting nukes, Fallout. Gabriel just has nukes on standby apparently.
all the time.
Yeah.
And then he
Nukes for
now has
days.
another nuke ready to go to kill the rest of his team
Oh
possibly.
yeah, baby.
So
Nukes
this
for
is the
days.
villain that has like destroyed Ethan Hunt more times over and over. But you would never know that from any interaction they have, because one, Ethan seems like he barely cares about Gabriel at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And two, Gabriel's just so, again, he's like a mustache twirling villain.
Yeah.
So uninteresting and uncompelling. Though.
I feel more threatened by Philip Seymour Hoffman and
Without a
by
doubt.
Henry Cavill. Absolutely. In this series,
I
I
feel
feel
more
like they've
threatened
done a
by
more
the
intelligent
by the
job.
bad guy from 2. He is at least he is also crazy,
cool.
but
He
he's
could go
crazy
hand
in an
in
interesting
hand.
way.
Motorcycle to motorcycle.
Yeah, man.
Like, yeah, he could go for it.
Yeah.
But Gabriel, no, not at all.
No.
And so that makes his death, which gets like played for laughs a little bit.
Oh
Again,
my
it's funny
God,
to
dude,
just
so
highlight how stupid
stupid.
he is as a character. But you also can't make the villain that has killed 2 main characters.
Yeah.
And also allegedly you rewrite.
He's
the
supposed to be the
backstory
end
that he
all be all
created.
villain other than the AI.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like the big human bad guy. And he's just like a stupid little stupid guy.
Yeah, he's dumb. He's like a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Like, you can't do that. You can't have both. You're supposed to have him like him and Ethan have this big actual reckoning with each other,
Mhm.
and they don't. Again,
No.
like nothing
They
gets
should have
brought up
brought
about.
they
you
should have
killed
brought Henry
Ilsa, you
Cavill
killed
back,
Luther,
bro.
We're gonna keep playing, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Nothing.
Henry Cavill comes back. He
With a
didn't
big
actually
old
get hooked in the
scar.
face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has a giant
Like,
scar. And
the
like,
entity has reconstructed his face and CGI'd out his mustache. And
I don't know. It feels like they are copying Fallout a lot in terms of plot. Not only
Yeah.
is that final action sequence the same, but in the same sense that like Henry Cavill was the like spokesperson and the like physical embodiment of evil that what's his name, Solomon Lane, was supposed to be.
Yeah.
In the same way that Gabriel was supposed to be that for the AI, but I feel neither threatened nor intimidated by the AI or Gabriel as I was to Solomon Lane and John Walker
no.
in Fallout. Way cooler version of that sort of villain dynamic.
Yeah. I was more interested by the AI Doomsday cult that they only bring up a couple times when they want to have somebody start a fight
Randomly
sequence
attack.
randomly.
Yeah.
But that at least was like an interesting, like,
Funny
oh,
that they
this
chose
is
that.
this is like part of a larger world. This is having
Yeah.
actual like socioeconomic effects on people who live
I
here.
suppose, but also, do you feel like wouldn't it have been a more interesting plot point if they were just AI videos? Because I keep seeing AI videos, and they keep feeling realer and realer the longer it goes on. And it's like this could have been a world where those were AI videos of like fake protests of fake people that
Yeah.
are fake worshippers.
That also would have been
So it's just
interesting.
manifesting
Yeah.
terror
Yeah,
that isn't even
leaving
real.
people scared of nothing. Yeah,
Yeah, because I could see that happening in real life. It hasn't quite happened yet, but it
yeah,
definitely could. They're getting better and better.
yeah.
Have you seen the videos where it's like it seems like a news story, and then they go, "This isn't real. This is AI." It's like a news reporter reporting like a flood, and they're in the middle of a flood, and then they stop and they go, "Just kidding.
Yeah.
This isn't real. I'm AI."
I feel like I've seen those videos once a year for the past like 4 years, and they are getting exponentially
They
better.
look real. There's ones where it's like just a reporter on the beach, and then an alien ship rises out of the water behind them, and it just looks real.
Yeah,
They're starting to get scary.
that's crazy.
I could see like old people getting confused by them. Absolutely,
The boomers, yeah. At this point, it's gonna be a wrap.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some video that gets all the boomers
Yeah,
completely duped and fooled, and then who knows what happens.
it's time to go to
And all
South
we wanted
Africa.
was just accurate,
We
photorealistic
have,
videos.
what if
of Will
he is
Smith
already
and-
here?
Yeah,
It was just more quiet than the entity. And why is the entity so loud about its existence in that? Reckoning and Final
I don't
Reckoning.
know.
I feel
How
like
do they
it would be
know? How do they have a
more similar
countdown?
to Shadows. Yeah.
How do they have a
Yeah.
countdown on how exactly how long it's going to take for the entity to get into all the nuclear silos?
They're tracking how fast it hacks.
How do they know?
How do they know? How do they know anything? It's just such movie logic. It's
It
so
is.
bad.
I will say I do like
Just
the
like-
scoreboard, the physical like basketball scoreboard that they have
Mhm.
in that room. I do like
Yeah.
that.
I like all the giant tables that are maps. And it's like,
Yeah.
why do you need so many? What are you tracking here? That can't be
You
tracked
can't
on one
see
map.
this thing.
Yeah, it's a bunch of like neural networks on tables. What are we looking at? I don't know.
No idea.
What are ones and zeros? Anyway,
Let's talk
the
about
biplane
pure
sequence.
cinema biplanes.
Yeah.
Biplanes.
Great.
Oh man,
It was
it is
amazing.
great.
Really
This is
fantastic.
the one where I was like, yes, we've done it. We're back,
Yeah.
boys.
I think it's a more impressive
You
stunt than a lot of what he's done recently, but I think the helicopter sequence in Fallout, I think I like it more still.
I think so too, but only because it was first. I think if it was reversed, I might feel the opposite.
I don't know. I just feel like the stakes are just very similar. I think the
Yeah.
wing walking that he does in this movie is very, very cool. I think the stakes are similar in terms of like Tom Cruise risking his life.
Yeah.
I think it is shot better in when it's the helicopter sequence, and I think the like follow through of like how it ends is better as opposed to Gabriel just
Yeah.
like falling back and smacking his face. Like the follow through of like
And they
not
wore
only is
the
John Walker
parachute.
shooting at him with like a big fucking gun
Yeah.
the whole time,
Yeah,
they like
that's awesome.
crash the helicopters, and then it follows through with like them running from the helicopter as it crashes, and then fighting on the cliff with the helicopter behind them. Like the
Yeah.
evolution of events works out better, and this one is just like it is a more impressive stunt, I think, and I think people are getting caught up in that. I just don't think it's works as well in the movie as the helicopter chase works in Fallout, but it's still really, really cool.
Yeah.
Also, him jumping from plane to plane, not as cool as I was
More of a
hoping it would be.
Oh, I thought it was sick.
I was anticipating a full jump, but he was
It is-
climbing from one plane to
It's
another.
sick
Very cool.
until you see the behind the scenes video.
Oh, I
Which-
have not seen that one. I've only seen a couple. I've seen the one
Which, like,
where he's got
I don't
the
know-
parachute on fire, but that's
Yeah,
it.
I don't know what I thought they would have done to make that realistic, and I guess like it has to be safe in some degree. I just really thought he would jump. I thought he was going to be on one plane, and then another plane would lower in, and he was going to jump onto it. But what it is he's on the second plane first, and they
Yeah.
lower that in, and then he like steps down, and then just steps back up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they just cut to when he's on the first plane first, and I'm like, I guess that because he's attached to the second plane.
Yeah.
He has to be because if the bottom plane that he's on drops out, he has to be on the one on top,
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
So he's attached to that plane, and he just lowers himself down, and it's still like once again very impressive, very dangerous. He's attached the entire time, and
Yeah.
he just kind of steps down and then comes back up. And it's more impressive to me that the two biplane pilots are just lining up like that
Yeah.
than it is to see Tom Cruise step down and then step back up.
Yeah.
And I think what's more impressive than him jumping between planes is him doing the wing walking, which I think is a lot cooler.
Yeah. They have just raised the bar to such a crazy degree that we're able to have these nitpicks on the fact that this guy was attached to one biplane but standing on another in midair is just slightly less impressive than the other things that he's done, which are all, it's like when they put out those like ratings sheets for like the top highest rated TV programs in a year, and like 48 out of the 50 are all like NFL events. Like 48 of the top coolest things that have happened in the last 20 years are all Tom Cruise, but just to varying degrees of difficulty and life threateningness.
I feel like, again, there's also like things in here that feel cheesy as opposed to the Fallout sequence, which is just like committed to being serious and intense the whole time. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching him do the wing walking, and then he's like on the wing on Gabriel's plane after he abandons the first plane, and he's like approaching the cockpit. Once again, he does the exact same thing he did on the first plane, which is just punch the pilot.
Yeah.
He just like sneaks up on him, and in both cases, I don't understand how the pilot didn't see him.
Yeah.
He's on the wing. He's a human being
Yeah.
on the wing. You can't look to your left. He's not in your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Are you so laser focused on looking forward that you can't see the guy on the wing to your left?
Yeah.
Happens twice. He does it twice. He doesn't sneak up behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, don't
He's
they
in
have the
front of them.
goggles? Aren't they a little obscuring some of the
I don't think Gabriel's wearing goggles, is he?
I don't think so. But I've never flown a plane. But would not on a plane that small,
You would feel the
170
weight at least.
pounds of however much Tom Cruise is on one side of the plane, that doesn't affect anything to like how you're feeling. Pulling a little to the left today. Like you don't look over to check that out.
I guess. Hang on, let me look something up because I want to confirm something before you guys keep talking. I have to look at the BTS real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in the BTS. I haven't seen any of those videos yet.
What did you think of
I
the
think
death? Did the
incredible. I think
did
it's
the
so
death work
impressive.
for you?
Which death? Gabriel?
Yeah, Gabriel.
Again, it's one of those. I don't know. It's like the Last Jedi moment of tossing the lightsaber, where like the initial reaction is like, "Oh, like ha, funny," and then it's like, "Oh, but why'd we do that? That was kind of stupid." Like we just threw away again, like the potential of a real head-to-head fight between the big bad villain and our main hero in the big finale for a quick cheap joke, a cheap laugh.
Yeah.
Why is that what's happening? Again, it was like brutal. Him like getting his face sliced open with the wing as he falls out. Like it was in the moment, the instantaneous reaction. They got what they wanted out of me, but then I feel like it just was at the expense of what could have been a much better alternative if they had actually, been fighting on top of the plane and had this big reckoning with each other. It emphasized how
this big what with each other
villain Gabriel was. What now?
This final reckoning.
Exactly. So yeah, that was my concern with it.
Yeah, it worked a little bit better for me.
Cruise,
I think it would have
walking on the planes was great.
Yeah, I think it would have rung a little bit more hollow if they had tried to do something like that. Just because they're so not interested in it for 80% of the rest of the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the BTS now, and I remember what my bigger criticism was. First off, funny thing, obviously the motherfucker who's in the movie that's flying the plane isn't actually flying the plane. So the way they shoot that is the guy who's sitting there is in just like a green screen leotard, which looks really, really fun. But my bigger complaint is that he's not jumping from plane to plane. He's jumping from plane to helicopter. The top plane is a helicopter that has the biplane wheels attached to the bottom of it so that it looks like he's jumping onto the bottom of a biplane, but really it's a helicopter hovering over. So now I'm not as even impressed with it. I mean, again, pilots getting that close to each other is still very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Would have been way more impressive if they were both biplanes.
Yeah.
I also was expecting, I'm not going to lie, when I was told that he's going to jump from plane to plane, obviously, this makes more sense logistically that he would do it this way. I thought he was going to jump from wing to wing.
Run and leap.
like how they get side by side, like you do a car jump from car to car side by side. I thought he was going to go from one wing to the other wing, which means he can't be attached to any of them.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to go no attachment jump.
Well, he actually,
would have been crazy.
That would have been tough. It would have been very, very tough for them.
He would have died.
But,
yeah.
But this is as safe as you like. Tom Cruise is not going to die doing it like this, but it's still impressive. No. He's attached to the helicopter
above both biplanes with him attached to the helicopter. So if he missed, he could at least still be on the helicopter.
Yeah, I suppose.
But again, there's still the potential.
We joke about it. I don't think
we'll just give the motherfucker a parachute and CGI it out.
Yeah,
like he knows how to parachute. If he bails and like misses the plane and falls,
and then if that happens, include it in the film. Well, I guess how to get back.
Yeah, he's in the parachute and he lands back on the plane.
Yeah, we joke, but I don't think he actually has a death wish. Because I mean, yeah, you give him a parachute, but if he falls and knocks himself out, then you just have a dead movie star.
Yeah, that's the issue. Yeah. If he were to fall and like hit the plane, then he'd be cooked. That's why he would need to be attached to like the helicopter.
I do also think it's impressive that looking at it, because when you watch the BTS, the helicopter has the lower, like pretty much on top of the biplane. There are moments where the helicopter just slams into it. Because it just gets too low, the biplane gets too high, so they're bouncing off of each other, and then they have to recover and keep going. It's very, very cool to watch. But I was hoping he was going to jump wing to wing. I thought he was going to do it no attachment. I thought he was going to do something crazy like that.
Threw that out there, which it was just a prediction. But I was like, just because we hadn't seen anything in the trailers yet, I'm like, it's going to be crazy. He's on one plane, he ends up on another. I'm like, he's got to jump.
It's still cool.
Yeah,
it's still very, very cool.
He was just climbing up, but it was still amazing. Like him again, still being like in air. Yeah. On speeding biplanes, like that's
the wing walking. I think was way cooler though, because if you watch the BTS, it's exactly how he's doing it. He's just attached to the wing, kind of, but he's still
just like his feet. Like
it's like he's like attached to something. It's like he has like a harness on his back, and he's attached there, and then the plane will just do full like 180s and shit, and flip him around, and he's flipping around on that wing. Like the attachment is just there in case he lets go, but he's really holding on to the damn thing, and that is more impressive to me. than the plane jump.
Yeah, that is insane. I think it
It's still all very
combines.
cool. High winds, man,
Yeah.
is hard to breathe.
It combines the like interests in the chase and how is he going to get up of the helicopter chase and Fallout with the Tom Cruise hanging onto the side of a plane for the beginning of Rogue Nation. But this is more impressive. Like, I like that Rogue Nation stunt. It doesn't always totally work for me just because he's just stationary. And you're like, yeah, I mean, you could just duct tape that guy to the side of the plane. That's probably fine.
You see that he's attached.
Yeah.
It's still impressive. He like has to hold on to them.
And worry about
It's
like
terrifying.
small like dust or rocks like hitting his eyeball at 80 miles an hour.
And you know, the harness, it could just fail.
Yeah.
It won't, but it could.
Yeah. So anyway, that sequence is fantastic. And then we get back to some bullshit happening in the bunker. And
we managed stuff that I don't give a shit about.
No.
I really thought there's 3 people hanging back to defuse that bomb. And I thought at least one of those motherfuckers was going to die.
Because none of them know how to defuse a bomb.
So then why did Luther need to die as well? Like, what was the reason that those 3 were able to defuse it? I forget.
I don't know.
But it was the whole thing of like, we need to do the same steps basically, but then there needs to be a small bomb that triggers. It won't be nuclear, but it'll be a small bomb.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen.
The door was locked. If the bomb does go off, because they're like covered in dust or whatever, but they're able to run. They're like, do you think you could make it to that door in 10 seconds? They're like, well, we'll find out. Because
those motherfuckers could not make it to that door in 10 seconds. William Donlow and his wife are not hoofing it like that, bro.
No.
There's no. That's why they don't show.
Not without their sled dogs. Yeah.
The young guy, he can make it for sure. I thought they were gonna do a thing where like, hey, once it goes, you run. We're gonna stay behind. I thought William Donlow and his wife were gonna sacrifice themselves, and the young guy was gonna make it because these old motherfuckers are not making it in 10 seconds. And then they'd find a way to do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's more like it's Mission Impossible, except they get away with it because of plot armor, as opposed to getting away with it because of creative writing, like it was in the past, which feels rough.
Yeah.
Like the whole impossibleness of the mission relies upon Grace hitting the button at the exact moment that it needs to be hit, as opposed to like Fallout, where the entire impossible mission is dependent upon Tom Cruise stopping John Walker, getting from one helicopter to the other helicopter, getting the button, and then defusing it at the same time that they're defusing a bomb, which is like things that are within their skill set that make sense.
Yeah.
And this one is like a very similar plot. He has to get to S.A. Morales. He has to get the device. He has to flip the switch or something. And then at the same moment, Haley Atwell has to pull the thing at the exact moment, the exact nanosecond that it flashes green, which is like greatest reaction time in the world, I guess. Yeah. Fastest draw in the West, I suppose. God. It just feels like plot armor, like skipping around something plausible for something that feels like it's impossible, and then just saying, "Nope, I guess it is possible."
Yeah, and that Benji can talk Paris through giving him like trauma surgery.
Yeah,
and so that he can breathe and his lungs don't collapse.
Yeah,
I don't know. And then
there's a lot going on.
So they finally get it out. They've got the entity. Why do they hold on to it?
That's what I'm saying. They're like, all right, we got the most dangerous thing in the world.
Step on
it to Ethan Hunt.
Throw it on the ground. What are you doing?
He's just going to hold on to it? Like, he thinks no one's ever going to rob him at some point? Like,
it's a flash drive. If you break it, it's not going to, like, get out into the air. Like, just break it and be done with it. What are we doing?
Now the entity can...
What if it ends with Tom Cruise eating the... It also doesn't get rid of it, but it exists... It is like slightly less accessible than it would be beforehand. It's only slightly better than just holding it in a case. Is him eating it.
Angela Bassett is talking to him like a dog with like something in its mouth, like Ethan, what do you have? Spit it out. Like, oh,
spit it out, Ethan. We need that drive.
So that's what I'm saying. Do we think there's going to be another if the entity is still in existence? Technically, like it's on a flash drive?
No,
I don't think so.
It is. Is it not just in the exact same form that it was in Mission Impossible 3, just in a like isolated location?
Yes, but it's stronger. I think like that was like that was like a prototype. Dangerous. Yeah. You
go through all the trouble in Mission Impossible 3 to get this device, and now you have the exact same setup as Mission Impossible 3, but with an even more powerful, deadly weapon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super cool.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, now it's a fully fledged. I mean,
And now
world
it's angry.
through AI. And now it's angry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope its memory got wiped or something.
This time it's
It'll come back and
personal.
be like,
It has a vengeance.
we'll do the same again. Saturday morning cartoon Scream as Gabriel did in Dead
The
Reckoning.
AI has no emotions, but it is so. It was betrayed so horribly by Ethan Hunt that it has a personal vendetta against him.
I know. Like I can see them trying to do a sequel. I just can't think of a good one. Like the only plot that I have is like you're saying, it's personal now. So the entity gets put back in somewhere
Mhm.
and like finds some super advanced 3D printer and like turns itself into Ilsa. And it's like you let me die. Now I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think Mission Impossible Fallout should have been the ending. I think it was a great
Yeah.
conclusion, and I think it was the most impossible I've seen a mission be impossible. You know,
I think
never quite got more impossible than that. It got these last two movies. It got a little too impossible for me. You know, it was a little too unbelievable in a way that I found less entertaining.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible Fallout was like the perfect balance of it being ridiculously improbable to the point of pretty much being impossible, but still making somewhat sense that they were able to do it.
Yeah. I think sometime in the next 18 months, someone is going to take Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning and cut together one really excellent 3-hour movie.
Dude, that would be so sick. That could be a good movie.
And that could be the best out of all of them. Because if you
There's a
can
way to
if
do
you
it.
can finish with the train
At
sequence,
that point,
then
Luther
jump.
dies like halfway through the movie,
Yeah.
as opposed to the beginning. You have like Gabriel having stakes. The only thing is that Gabriel still sucks as a character.
Yeah,
You can't
Gabriel
change
still
that.
is just a bad villain.
Yeah.
It'll still not work out.
You could just still cut out so much of the over-explaining plot.
Yeah.
It could work. You have to cut out a lot of movie though. It's like
You
5
cut out a
hours
lot
of
of
movie. You
movie.
cut down to 3.
But you can
out
cut
2
down.
hours.
You can easily cut
I cut an hour and
an
a half. for Final
hour,
Reckoning.
yeah, hour and a half, hour and 15 out of Final Reckoning. And I think there's definitely some places that you could take out. You might lose some interesting sequences, but you can definitely cut out of Dead Reckoning. But then you find some place to give like 10 minutes of material, the time jump between the train sequence and then the sub sequence, and then cut down on a lot of the bullshit between the sub and the biplanes.
Mhm.
And you've got a pretty great movie on your hands with a
maybe the
little
best.
middling ending. Not the best,
A
but
lot of flaws still, but
yeah.
could still work. You could pretty much cut out Shea Wiggum's entire character almost.
Yeah.
But I love him. I mean,
I love Shea Wiggum. I don't love his character.
I love him in the first
He's
movie.
so fun.
He's not good in this one because he's not given a lot to work with, really.
yeah, he has nothing to do. So
Yeah, it's
I wish they would have given him more. I wish he would have been part of the team
Yeah.
in some way. At least to cause
Yeah,
some.
like towards the end, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Swaps over. I
would have
don't
been
know.
cool.
Yeah.
But alas. All right. Any other final thoughts on Final Reckoning?
Disappointing.
I don't know.
Disappointing ending.
Ryan, do you want a sequel?
I think they could do better. I think they could do a better finale.
Do you think
But
Ethan
now it's
Hunt
just-
should die in the end, or do you think he should just keep going?
I think if they killed him off in this one, then it would have been like true finality. That's why I also don't think that they like really want this to be the
Yeah.
end.
You think they're going for another one?
but
It's called
they
Final
should-
You
Reckoning.
think they're going to space?
Dude, I want that. I want him in space.
That'd be
I want
kinda
Ethan Hunt in space. That'd be cool. Again, they could move him into more of a, now he's the new Kittredge, where he's
Yeah.
more behind the scenes. He's not supposed to be out in the field, and then
At
he
the
gets
end, he
compelled to
comes
be
out.
out in the field.
But
something like
Tom
that.
Cruise is not
Could
letting
work.
that happen. He's not letting anybody else
Well, yeah,
take
but
that man.
again, he would still end up in the field. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
He
okay.
starts. He's like, "Oh, I'm retired," but then he's like, "Actually,
Yeah.
I'm
And
back,
dude, I'm
baby."
We're
not
just
gonna
doing
lie.
3 again.
I'm not gonna lie. Tom Cruise is starting to look his age. He's getting
He
fucking
is.
old, man.
He's getting pretty old.
He's starting.
Alright.
To look, I mean, he's
I mean,
still
the man
like.
is almost 70 years old. Like,
Yeah.
All right,
I will
he's
say
61.
in the shirtless scene he has in this movie, for a guy his age, he still looks pretty damn good.
yeah,
He does.
He looks better than I
That's
do.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely
fine.
Yeah, but
I
he
think
still
now-
looks fucking old.
Well, he's looking his age. He doesn't look old.
He looks 65, which is old. I
Yeah.
plan on dying at 70.
You
Okay.
plan on it?
To me, he has 5 years left.
He's got a
Just
ways
enough time to
go.
make one more Mission Impossible.
He does.
Exactly. He's got
He's
one
got
more.
like 2 more in him.
Yeah.
I guess.
Like the 30-year mark. I say we can get one more at least. They got to go for the Oscar. Okay, the stunt Oscar.
Yeah.
I think
can
he
they
will
not?
go for it in a different movie. If he goes to space, he's gonna win the stunt Oscar.
Yeah.
So let's do it. him, Mission Impossible.
He's not going to
Space,
win the Oscar. The stunt
one last
team, the
time.
stunt coordinator is going to win the
Wayne
Oscar.
Eastwood will win the Oscar. Yeah.
That's probably true, but he's probably so involved in it that I'm sure he'll get. I don't know what we'll see this year, what like the exact qualifications are.
Yeah.
But
Is this year the
he's
first year they're
person
doing it?
who- sorry.
No.
If he's doing the stunt, that's part of the team. Like he would be
No,
getting.
this is the first year they're doing the casting Oscar, right?
Yeah. Next year.
Yes, the stunt Oscar comes in
2027.
next
Yeah.
year.
Or 6 or 7. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so we'll
I was
see
looking
how they
forward to the casting Oscar.
That's enough
That would be
time.
sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been watching movies this year, being like, which one would get nominated for this? I mean, there haven't been that many movies coming out, but Phoenician
Yeah.
Scheme could definitely get casting Oscar.
Yeah.
There's just so many fucking famous people in it.
I mean, Tremel Tillman gets cast in this and comes in and steals the show as
He
the
was great. Let's see more of
He's pretty
him.
good.
him flirting with
should've
Ethan.
been part of the team.
Fantastic. Katie O'Brien. Everybody on that sub is
He just
fantastic.
has such a compelling way of speaking.
Yes.
Just in real life, that's how he actually speaks, and it's just so captivating.
Yeah.
Have you seen Severance, Kirk?
I've seen a season and a half.
Dude,
Kind of
he's-
petered out
he's
for halfway
my
through
favorite
season 2.
part. You
But
gotta
he's
finish
great.
it because the ending is fantastic. But
Okay.
he is just so captivating in that show. Ryan, you haven't watched it yet, right?
I've not yet seen it. No.
Oh my god, dude! Oh my god, dude! Come on.
Are you guys watching The Studio? I know this is not
I
a
watched
TV
the first two
podcast, but you guys
episodes.
should watch The
Not yet.
Studio.
Again, I haven't been able to see anything these past 6 years. I haven't even watched Andor yet.
Ugh.
That's how tragic.
I
it
haven't
is.
watched Andor either. I'm just not a fan of Hollywood making movies about Hollywood, especially when it's full of people from Hollywood. It just feels so like
That works for me.
self-servicey.
I eat that up.
Who else would make movies about Hollywood?
With the exception of Babylon, I eat that up.
Ooh, Ryan's gonna fight you on that.
Correct. What do you mean fighting on that? He said he ate it up, right?
Oh no, with the
No,
exception of Babylon.
Oh, you did not like
I
that.
don't
did
care
not
for
eat it.
Babylon.
Dang,
Ryan
get
loves
off this
Babylon.
pod. You're never coming.
Oh no, this is my final reckoning.
Much as he loves pushing people in theaters.
Babylon's incredible. I've talked to many people actually in the Bulgaria trip that are all big fans of Babylon,
Yeah.
so it's coming around.
All right.
It's having a reason.
All right.
There's a huge
It'll
fan
be,
base.
I've only
series.
seen it once. I should give it another shot.
You
I
should.
hadn't even seen it once.
Yeah, maybe when I make Dylan watch it, I'll bring you on, Kirk. You
Yeah.
can see if we'll change your opinion.
I like Singing in the
ever
Rain
watch
the
it.
first time it was made. So
Oh,
Um,
shots fired.
I think they're both great. Again, 2 perfect sequences in Babylon, like top tier, without a doubt, like perfect.
yeah, but there's no
flawless.
submarines.
There's no submarines, and I bet you there's no
a
biplanes.
gator
is there?
there.
Margaret Robbie
And there's elephants.
never jumps between biplanes.
Dude, if Margot Robbie jumped between planes, that would be the
That'd be
best.
the
Stunt. Fuck
sickest,
Tom
yeah.
Cruise. That would be the best stunt of all time. She would do it for real too. No safety
would,
line or anything.
yeah.
She's just jumping.
I don't know about that.
Margot Robbie's awesome.
All
I don't know.
right.
I've seen like, in terms of like what I consider to be legitimately dangerous. It like looks very dangerous.
Dylan, I don't understand why he's done enough. Okay, yes, he was strapped to a
In
helicopter.
like old
when he
Hong Kong
climbed from one
films,
plane
I've
to
seen
another.
Jackie Chan do crazy.
I'm sorry, that wasn't good enough.
This is almost like
I've seen Jackie Chan do crazier things.
yeah, I feel like this is almost the reverse of the bike jump stunt though, where that one is so like technically dangerous, but on film doesn't look as impressive.
I agree,
And I think
but it's
that's
because
the
we're
opposite.
oversaturated with how many times we saw it. That thing is like, dude, jumping off a cliff with just a parachute and you're on a bike
Yeah.
when you're that close to the cliffs is incredibly. You did it like 10 times.
Yeah.
That to me is a more impressive stunt than this.
And he
stunt.
fell out of a helicopter.
This
with
one
a-
looks so much
His
cooler.
parachute was on fire 13 times to get the
Yeah.
one shot of him falling with that burning up for no reason. By the way, it's not like that plane was really that on fire. I don't know why the parachute caught on fire.
He lit it on fire secretly.
It's gonna look sick.
That would be cool. Yeah. All
There's
right.
a little light
How
on it.
many poison pills out of 5 for final reckoning?
Give it a 3,
Yeah, I gave it a 3 coming out of it.
maybe less.
It might be two and
I
a
give it a
half.
3 as well, but there's a curve on that for sure.
Yeah.
Both of those two
biplane
sequences
sequence.
are a
Yeah.
full star and a half worthy.
Yeah,
So I have to give it 3.
That makes up the 3.
Yeah.
yeah. God, they were. Yeah, the very little bit of action you get in this movie is some of the best action you get in the franchise, which does help it quite a bit. But there's so much lacking. That 3 is the highest I would give it,
Yeah.
possibly even lower.
All right. Do you guys have your rankings?
I do, and you're gonna
Oh,
hate it.
fuck.
I've got them in
You
front
do
of me.
it. Let me write mine down really fast because I keep going over it and I keep really not knowing. And I've watched all of them.
That's
now.
why you need to do your letterbox
Completely.
list
I
do?
do need to do my letterbox.
I even
list.
did a letterbox thing for it.
because you guys are
All right.
gonna hate it.
You guys go first.
Okay, Kirk.
Sure. All right. I've got Fallout as 1. I've still got Dead Reckoning at 2. I've got Ghost Protocol at 3. Rogue Nation at 4. The original at 5. Yeah, I'm sticking with what I got here. I got Final Reckoning at 6. 3 at 7. Just based on the strength of the action sequences alone. I think 3 is a more enjoyable movie start to finish. I also think 2 is a more enjoyable movie start to finish than Final Reckoning, so I can't really go by that criteria. I just think the sub really, really worked for me, and the biplane is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And so for me, it just barely edges out 3 at 7 and 2 at 8.
Wow. Okay.
And I know that's a
So
hot
your
take for this
official-
pod, but
Your official top 3 is Fallout, Ghost Protocol,
and
Dead
Dead
Reckoning.
Reckoning.
Not in that order, though. Fallout, Dead Reckoning,
Yeah,
Ghost Protocol.
yeah.
My top. Wow, I'll just go through the whole list. So my number 1, of course, Fallout. My number 2, Mission Impossible 3.
Dude loves it.
The unpopular
Dude's ride or
opinion on
die for
that.
it.
People will be trashing Mission Impossible 3 like crazy. I'm like, y'all need to stop with your groupthink and hating on J.J. Abrams instinctively. Shut up. It's a good film. It's great. Philip Seymour Hoffman kills it.
Yeah, he
It's
does.
stupid.
The coughing alone. So good.
So, number 3, Ghost Protocol. Number 4, Rogue Nation. Number 5, Dead Reckoning. Number 6, the original Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible. Number 7, Final Reckoning. And then in last place, Mission Impossible 2.
All right, I got it. I think I'm locking this in. I'm gonna start at the bottom, work my way up. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. You all know my number 1's Fallout. Number 1, Fallout. Number 2, Rogue Nation. Number 3, Mission Impossible 3. Number 4, Ghost Protocol. Number 5, Mission Impossible 1. Number 6, Dead Reckoning. Number 7, Final Reckoning. Number 8, Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 1 and Dead Reckoning might swap, but for now, this is where I'm keeping it, just because I love the stylism of De Palma's Mission Impossible 1. I just think it's so fun and neat. It's so
Let's just say
very
again,
It's really good.
Yeah.
Your number 1 is Fallout. Your number 2 is Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
Your number 3 is Mission Impossible 3.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I watched Rogue Nation recently in anticipation for our show, and then also in anticipation for the Final Reckoning. And dude,
It's
just
really, really good.
It's really entertaining. It's so much better than I thought it was, because I originally did not like my memory of it was like I don't really like this movie that much as opposed to the other ones. And I rewatched and I was like,
It
dude,
stands out.
this
It's
is
really good.
this slaps. I just think I didn't like Solomon Lane that much in that movie as opposed to his representation of Fallout. And I didn't really like the amorphous sort of Rogue Nation, the eponymous syndicate version, like that sort of like villain archetype of like being this secret agents on the run. But I think everything to do with like Ilsa being like this sort of like, what is it, decommissioned agent who's trying to get back in, but they won't let her back in.
Yeah.
I think all of that is fantastic. The whole double secret agent stuff, it feels very like spy thriller as opposed to like a lot of the other ones. And the action is, dude, the motorcycle chase. The whole thing is like nonstop action for like 30 minutes, leading to the end of that motorcycle chase. It just doesn't stop going.
It's pretty fantastic. As one more data point, if you guys remember, Ryan Mayers and I did the Fast and the Impossible trek, where we watched all of the Star Trek, all of the Mission Impossible, and all the Fast and Furious films. Final Reckoning ranks at number 12 out of 32 of those movies, just behind Wrath of Khan.
Wow.
What?
That's real high compared
Why
to
is
all
Wrath
those
of
other
Khan so
seasons.
low?
I didn't care for. I have 4 as my favorite of the Star Trek movies.
You've got 10 Fast and Furious movies that go below Wrath of Khan, buddy.
I have
Maybe 9 if you really like Fast 5.
I have 2 that go over. I have Fast 6 and Furious 7. Oh, no, I don't. I have 6 and 8 that go above God.
That is insane. Not Fast 5?
Nah.
I remember our argument. Fast 5 is good and you don't think so.
That.
What's your number 1 on that list, out of curiosity?
Fallout.
Is it Fallout?
It's Fallout. The top 4 spots are all Mission Impossible.
Come on,
That's fair.
Then F8.
So Dylan, is yours? I'd have to go back and listen to your rankings over all this. I feel like they've changed quite a lot.
They did.
I remember MI3 being as high on yours.
Yeah, to put Dead Reckoning
Dead
up that
Reckoning,
high.
you had 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I rewatched it. I rewatched it in anticipation for Final Reckoning, and I was like, eh. Because when we recorded that episode, I didn't finish Dead Reckoning. We had started it.
Yeah.
I had started because I ran out of time. I watched like the first like 30 minutes of it, and then we recorded the episode, and then I finished watching it to watch Final Reckoning, and I was like, there's so much exposition. It's great, fun banter, and it's really good action at times, but like, God, the exposition just kills me.
I actually did the same thing. I didn't have time to rewatch Fallout before our conversation, and I didn't need to because that movie is in my bones.
Dude, I saw it like 4 times in theaters. It's so fucking good. I would see it again if they re-released it. I would bring my Fallout popcorn bucket or my Mission Impossible. It's not a Fallout popcorn. I wish I had the Fallout. I have the Dead Reckoning bucket, and now I have the Final Reckoning bucket, which is much like the movie. Disappointing. The Final Reckoning bucket is so lame.
But you busted all over that one, so we can't.
Dude, I did. The Dead Reckoning bucket is like it has the eye, like the AI eye. It's all orangey and red, and it's like the cool design on the outside. Yeah. And then the Final Reckoning bucket is just solid black with the logo on it. Just says Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. And then on the inside it has like blue cyber AI design. It's just lame. It just looks stupid compared to the other one. But hey. I completed my collection of Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning steel popcorn buckets.
So our official unanimous choice as best Mission Impossible is Fallout, and then we each agree Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation are in the top half, and then we all are in agreement Mission Impossible 2 is the worst, and Final Reckoning is in the bottom half.
But I will say, I've noticed a disturbing trend in myself where I'm enjoying every time that I've logged Mission Impossible 2, I've given it a 0.5-star higher rating.
Oh no!
It gets more and more enjoyable to me.
What is it at now?
The more it's at, it's at. I think it's at 2.5 because I couldn't. I like my soul.
What did it start at?
It started at 1.5.
It only got.
I think.
Oh my God.
If
it goes to a 3 next time you watch it, this is a bad trend. Yeah. It should not be higher than a 2.5.
That in the Fast and Impossible track is my second lowest one, just edging out Motion Picture.
Oh wow, interesting. All right, well that's
Star Trek: The Motion Picture is the worst of all of those movies.
It did not.
I've never seen it, but damn,
it's real slow. It's real slow.
Slow burn.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Anyway, that is a wrap. That is all the time we have. If you'd like to give your thoughts on the show, you can email us at theboxofficeshowpod@gmail.com.
Our main title theme for the show is Sundown by Joseph McDade.
If you like the show, please give us 5 stars on our podcast app you're listening to, and be sure to tune in next week. Kirk, thank you so much for coming out. Kirk Simpson, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Always here to talk about Mission Impossible, and we will have you back on to talk about Fast and Furious and Star Trek.
Heck yeah.
At some point. But also, here's a little tease. Ooh. Perhaps we'll have you back on. I mean, we'll have to if we do the show, but a cinema showdown where we determine the best action set piece in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Would you be down to come and battle it
Absolutely.
out?
It'd be a good
I'll pick something from 2 just to stick with my trend of picking a way out of left field choice. I'll pick something that nobody sees coming.
God.
I'm looking forward to that.
Anyway, have a great rest of your day.
All right, see you guys.